Welcome back to Decked Out.
On today's episode, we are joined by Dana Fischer and Zbexx for an Oops, All Elves in the Command Zone pod. And we each have cosplays to match.
Ooh, and of course, thank you to our sponsors, Tales of Adventure, Moxfield, and Ultimate Guard. But more on them later in the video.
All right, that's enough from us for now. Let's go ahead and check out these cosplays.
Hello, I am Nissa Who Shakes the World, but if you wanted to find me, you could look on most platforms at Dana Fischer MTG, as well as I stream on our family Twitch channel with my dad at Fischer Magic. And today I am playing the Disciple of Nissa, one of Gavin's unknown cards that he made at the Unknown event and only accessible through that he made in honor of me, which is amazing. And my plan is to make a bunch of mana, to make a bunch of Nissas, and use the Nissas to win the game.
I'm also Nissa, but I'm Nissa Resurgent Animist. My deck cares all about landfall triggers. So I have extra cards that are gonna help me trigger Nissa, which will give me more elves and elementals, which will also care about landfall triggers.
Hi, I'm Amara, Soul of the Accord, and I'm an elf cleric residing in Ravnica. Oh, you might know Zbexx on the internet. She's a professional cosplayer and trading card game personality. But today, I'm here to play a deck that puts tons of creatures on the battlefield. Like you're gonna need more room on your playmat. And we're gonna be drawing cards. And this isn't your average elf deck. I might be an elf, but I like hiring out other creature types to do my tricks.
That's right. It's I, Elrond, Master of Healing, and I've had a vision of the future, and it's filled with +1/+1 counters, and lots of little game actions where I can get my unblockable creatures through to my opponents. Wow, that has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
If you're anything like me, you have a box full of half-built commanders. So maybe a good New Year's resolution would be to finish up some of those decks.
Well, I'm not anything like you. I keep all of my cards on the floor, but there are still a few spots where you can see carpet, so I need to make sure that I fill all of those up with cards from Tales of Adventure. And it could be anything from the most premium versions to the base variations, or I could get sealed products as well from them. There are so many ways that I can make my room a complete disaster.
And there's no better time to do so than right now, because we have a 5% off discount code for your entire order. So you're gonna use code DECKEDOUT at checkout and you'll get that 5% off.
All right, well, I think we've got a game to play. Let's play some Commander.
Welcome to the table. Let's see who goes first. Ooh, 19.
14.
10.
I think I'm gonna take it. Everybody good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right. I'm just gonna play Forest and pass.
I'm going to play a Forest and play an Elvish Mystic that taps for a green. Go ahead.
I will play a Forest and play a Soul Ring.
Oh. Okay.
So it is decided. We must destroy the ring.
Yes.
Rings on Ravnica work a little differently. Nobody needs to panic.
No. We ask questions later.
Yeah.
I'll play this breeding pool tapped and pass the turn.
You know what's better than rings? Medallion. I will pay 2 for an emerald medallion, and it will make my green spells cost 1 less, and I will pass the turn.
So it is decided we must destroy the medallion.
I'm gonna play a Forest, and then I'm going to play a Wild Growth attached to my Forest, which makes my Forest tap for an additional green mana. And then I will tap this for 2 and this for 1, and run out my commander, the Disciple of Nissa. Whenever the Disciple of Nissa attacks, I may pay XXX green. When I do, create X tokens that are copies of different Nissa planeswalkers chosen at random. They each enter with an additional loyalty counter. There are currently 11. Go ahead.
I'll play a Plains. And it's time to get my commander out as well. Amara, Soul of the Accord. Oh, it's me. Whenever I become tapped, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. And then I will use my Soul Ring mana because as elves like to ramp, I would like to ramp some more. There are more artifacts on the table. You don't have to destroy my signet. You could ramp too.
My list of allies grows thin. I will play this Castle Vantress, which will enter untapped, and I can pay 4 to scry 2. I'll pay 2. For a Gyre Sage, it's a 1/2 with Evolve, so whenever a creature enters that has a greater power or toughness, then I can put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it taps for green equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it.
Okay.
So it doesn't ramp yet, but it will. And pass the turn.
I'm gonna just follow in Zbexx's footsteps and play my commander. It'll cost 1 less because of my medallion. Nissa, Resurgent Animist. A 3/3 with landfall that says whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, I get to add a mana of any color. Then, if this is the second time that this has happened, I get to reveal cards from the top of my library until I reveal an elf or an elemental, and I get to put that card into my hand and put the rest onto the bottom in a random order.
I just like that there's a Nissa.
And then I will do just that. I'm gonna go ahead and play a Cabaretti Courtyard. It's a land that when it comes into play, I get to sacrifice it, and when I do, I can search for a forest, plains, or mountain, and I get to gain a life. So Nissa will trigger, giving me the 1 green mana, and then it automatically will sacrifice. I will find another land.
Oh, I'm so glad that has rotated out of standard.
So I went ahead and got a forest, which will come into play tapped. I will gain a life, and another land has come into the battlefield, so I will get an additional green mana, and I will get to flip until I find an elf or a elemental and put that into my hand. I swear, there's elves in here. Aha, elementals. We found Titania, Protector of Argoth.
Oh god.
So Titania is going to go into my hand. The rest will go onto the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my 2 floating green mana to cast Staff of Titania. It's an equipment that equips for 3, and it says my creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of forests I control. And whenever equipped creature attacks, I get to make a 1/1 green forest dryad, which is also a land. Staff of Titania is a fantastic card, and drawing it this early is going to allow me to double trigger my Nissa, getting me a ton more elementals and elves off the top of my library, so I'll never run out of gas. I think I'm good there. I will pass the turn.
Yikes.
Okay.
Titania and her staff.
Well, we're about to get free planeswalkers, so...
Yeah. I'm gonna play a forest, and I am going to move to combat. And I'm gonna send the Disciple of Nissa at Veggie.
Yeah, no blocks here.
I have an attack trigger. I will tap 5 mana to randomly select 1 Nissa.
All right, so we have a little cheat sheet.
A list of all 11 Nissas. And I'm going to take the specialty D11 and roll to see what Nissa I will make.
Oh.
2, I will make Nissa Genesis Mage. Now technically, it's a token, but I thought the real thing would be better. That comes in with an extra loyalty counter, and I can uptick her to untap 2 creatures and 2 lands. I can minus her to give something +5/+5, and our ultimate, I can look at the top 10 cards in my library, put any number of creatures and or lands from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest will go on on the bottom.
And then damage. I will not block, so I'll take 3.
Yep. I will +2 Nissa Genesis Mage to untap these 2 lands and these 2 creatures.
It's both? I thought it was either or.
Up to 2 target creatures and up to 2 target land. I will tap 2 to play Sakura Tribelder. I can sack it to search for a basic land. And then I will tap my remaining 2 mana to cast a Dolmen Gate. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures I control. And I will pass the turn.
Okay, everybody's setting up some impressive boards over here. Ready to do the same?
I have a Gyre Sage.
Okay.
It does not tap for mana.
More mana. Wand of the World Soul enters the battlefield tapped. It can add white, or I can tap it to give the next spell I cast this turn convoke. Turn 1 Soul Ring, check. Turn 2 second ramp spell, check. Turn 3 another ramp spell, check. But the Wand of the World Soul is gonna do a whole lot more for my deck. And then King Darien with Roman numerals after it.
The Zilveil.
I never learned that.
Other creatures you control get +1/+1. I can pay 5 to put a counter on him and create a 1/1 soldier token. And I can sacrifice him to make creature tokens I control gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. And I do want to make some creature tokens.
Look, at this point, it's only 2 damage if you're swinging it, or 3 damage if you're swinging at me.
It's 3.
Right. I'm willing to help because I think I need as many friends as possible right now.
Okay, I will attack you for 3.
I'll take 3 damage. And you get a little guy.
I do. I get a 1/1 soldier creature token with lifelink. Pass.
I will start. I'm going to pay 2 for a Basking Brood scale. It's a 2/2. I can pay 2 mana to adapt 1 to put a +1/+1 counter on it. And whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put onto it, I can create a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn that I can sacrifice for mana. That will trigger Evolve, so my Gyre Sage will get a counter, and now taps for mana. I'll play a Hinterland Harbor as my land for turn, and then pay 2 for Lost Isle Calling. This is an enchantment. Whenever I scry, I put a verse counter on it, and then I can pay 6 mana and exile it to draw a card for each verse counter on it. But if it had 7 or more verse counters on it, I also take an extra turn, but I can only activate it as a sorcery. That's all I got. I will pass the turn.
We're gonna go land for turn. We have Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Everybody now has forests.
Yay!
A land has entered the battlefield, so I'm gonna get 1 green mana thanks to Nissa. I'll start by paying 2 to play Harrow. As an additional cost to cast this spell, I sacrifice a land, and I can search my library for up to 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield. Doesn't say tapped. So I will sacrifice my tapped land, and I'll get to search for 2 forests. Those 2 forests are going to give me 2 additional green mana and trigger Nissa's ability to look for an elf or an elemental. Elf Shaman, we got Reclamation Sage, that's gonna go into my hand, and then I'm gonna use my 2 floating and 2 more to cast that Titania that you guys saw me get earlier. A 5/3 that says when it enters the battlefield, I can put a land from my graveyard onto the battlefield. And whenever a land I control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, I get to create a 5/3 plant elemental. So the card I will get will be the Cabaretti Courtyard. Again, it will automatically sacrifice when I get to search for another basic and gain a life, which will also trigger Nissa's landfall again, as well as Titania. Whew.
Cha-cha-cha-ching!
It's a lot of mana.
So the Cabaretti Courtyard will go ahead and automatically sacrifice. 2 lands will come into the battlefield. I will get my second forest. It will come into play tapped. I'll also be gaining 1 life, and when the Cabaretti Courtyard goes into the graveyard, I get to make an elemental off of Titania. All right, I'm gonna pay 3 to go ahead and just equip Nissa with the Titania staff. And I'm gonna send Nissa at Nissa. Nissa on Nissa violence. When I attack, I will be getting an extra trigger. The Forest Dryad will come into play, and I will get an extra floating mana, but I don't intend to use it this turn, so.
And then I will move to blocks. I will block Secure Tribe Elder onto Nissa.
All right.
And then before damage, I'm going to sacrifice him to search my library for a basic forest.
All right, we had to get it started. Next up, I'm gonna just make it so that way you cannot attack all willy-nilly with your Nissa. And we will cast the Reclamation Sage for 2 because of the discount. And we're going to target the Dolmen Gate. It's a 2/1 that says when it enters the battlefield, I can destroy target artifact or enchantment.
All right, Dolmen Gate down. Losing this Dolmen Gate is a little bit of a blow because it will make it more difficult, and I'll have to spend another turn making sure that my Nissa can get through. But luckily, I have a card that will help make that happen.
And then I will pass the turn. I think I've done enough.
I will start by tapping 3 mana and cast Whisper Silk Cloak. The equipped creature is unblockable and can't be the target of spells or abilities, and I can equip for 2. Tap 2 mana to equip Whisper Silk Cloak onto the Disciple of Nissa. I'm going to +2 this Nissa to untap these 2 forests and this creature. And I will go to combat and attack Nerd Girl with my Nissa. Trigger. I'll spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make another Nissa.
I feel like the Disciple of Nissa can't attack the other Nissa. That's not fair.
Your Nissa attacked my Nissa.
It's like legend. It's the legend rule.
Nissas
You can only
can
have one of
attack
them.
Nissas, but a Disciple cannot attack a Nissa. That makes no sense at all.
I'm attacking the person who's controlling the Nissa. The Nissa attacked
you're attacking
the
Nissa.
actual Nissa. You attacked Nissa too.
With a Nissa!
Is this
Yes!
a mirror that's right here? Because I think I'm seeing double.
I feel like this whole conversation is unnecessary.
Oh.
That was awful.
All right, that's it for today's episode. That's all I needed. I'm gonna scoop my cards up.
I will roll my D11.
4.
4. I will make Nissa of Shadowed Boughs.
She even makes the one that looks most like you.
I was like, now you've really done it.
So Nissa of Shadow Boughs has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, put a loyalty counter on her. And then +1, untap target land I control. I may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace until end of turn. And then I can -5 to put a creature card with CMC less than or equal to the number of lands I control onto the battlefield from my hand or my graveyard with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And then with my commander, she enters with an extra loyalty counter. Damage.
Yeah, no blocks. I can't block an unblockable creature. 3 damage.
I will +1 to untap this forest. I will choose not to make it a creature. And I will tap it for 2 mana and play a card that I think will be pretty good on this table full of elves. Priest of Titania.
Oh.
All your elves create mana for my elves. And then go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I've got a lot of soldiers. I only have 1 elf.
What? That's
But-
fine.
okay.
Everyone has an elf. It's better than
true.
just my elves.
Okay. I'll play a Windswept Heath. Your Nissa Genesis is close to ultimate, a little too close to me, so I'm going to enter combat and swing Amara, Soul of the Accord for 3 at Nissa Genesis Mage. When she becomes tapped, I'll make another 1/1 creature token with lifelink.
I will not block. Nissa Genesis Mage will take 3 damage down to 7 loyalty.
I did my part.
Okay.
It didn't kill the Nissa, so I'm perfectly okay with it.
That makes
It's
one of
when
us.
the Nissa start dying. That's when I start to get upset.
Pass turn.
All right, I feel like I just gotta get this guy out here, right? I'm gonna pay 4 for my commander, Elrond, Master of Healing. Say 4/4. Whenever I scry, I put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards I looked at while scrying. And whenever a creature I control with a counter on it becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, I can draw a card. Elrond is everything that I want in a commander. It lets me take a weird angle with a mechanic that is already generically good, and it lets me draw cards when people try to mess with my stuff. So don't touch my stuff, or I draw. When it enters, it'll trigger the Evolve for my Gyre Sage. So that'll go up to 2. And then we're gonna play a Temple of Mystery. Good old Tapland. We still play temples, right? I will scry 1. You know what? I'll leave that on top, and that will trigger the Lost Isle Calling and Elrond. We'll go up to 1 verse counter, and I will use Elrond to put a counter onto this Basking Brood-Scale, which means that I will make an Eldrazi spawn. Take that, now I'm taking game actions.
Woo!
I'm gonna go to combat, and I will send this Basking Brood-Scale 3/3 at Nissa Genesis Mage.
All right. I will not block, and Nissa will take 3.
Good. And I'll pass the turn.
I'm gonna help with the Nissa problem. However, I also think I will now become a problem.
You will become the Nissa problem.
I will be the deal with one Nissa problem to become another Nissa problem.
We're gonna go ahead and pay 2 with the cost reduction and play Scoot Swarm. It's an insect 1/1 with landfall. It says whenever a land enters the battlefield, I make a 1/1 insect. Unless I have 6 or more lands, which I already currently do, then instead of making a generic insect, I get to make a copy of Scoot Swarm.
You better know your powers of 2.
I don't. I don't at all.
You can just we'll count them each time.
So we're gonna go with an escape tunnel for turn. That's gonna be a land, which will trigger Nissa. I'll get 1 green mana floating, and it will also make a copy of the Scoot Swarm. I'm gonna go ahead and use that mana floating and 1 to cast Ents Restoration. I get to sacrifice a land and search my library for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. However, I do control a creature with power 4 or greater because of the Staff of Titania, and that means instead I get to look for 3 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped instead. I'll sacrifice this tapped forest, which will also trigger Titania because a land is going into my graveyard. So I'll get to make another elemental.
So we're just gonna let the Nissas duke it out, and then we can play our own match, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that is a really good plan when we don't say it out loud.
And we're gonna get 3 forests that are gonna come onto the battlefield tapped, which is gonna trigger a couple of things. It'll trigger the Nissa, which will give me 3 more land, and I'll get to reveal for an elf or an elemental, and I will get a bunch of Scoot Swarm triggers. So my 2 Scoot Swarms will each see 3 lands come into play at the same time, which will give me an additional 6 total, giving me 7 tokens of Scoots. I'll go ahead and use the Nissa's ability to look for a elf or an elemental. That's a miss.
Sadly, Nissa does not count.
Sadly, I do not. Oh.
Oh no! No!
This is so sad. There is much sadness.
Oh, that's not good.
The elemental that we revealed is going to be Titan of Industry. Let's go ahead and pay 3, 4, 5, and cast a Rampaging Baloths. A 6/6 with trample that says landfall, make a 4/4 green beast token. All right, we're gonna let our fellow Nissa keep a Nissa. We'll go elemental token to the Genesis, an elemental token, and the Sage to Nissa of the Shadowed, and we're gonna go ahead and send Nissa of the Animist to Zbexx. So I will get a Titania Staff trigger, which is gonna give me a Dryad Forest, which will do a couple of things. It's gonna trigger my Baloth, it'll give me another land, and it'll give me an additional 8 Scoots.
Yup.
And then the final thing that will trigger will be the Rampaging Baloth, which will give me a 4/4 beast.
I declare no blocks.
None?
None.
You're not even gonna save your Nissas?
I will send a loyal soldier into battle to block the giant Nissa with a staff, making her the size of a giant. Goodness, but I'm gonna gain 2 life because I got lifelink.
I like it.
And then both my Nissas will sadly die.
All right.
Even though these 2 Nissas are gonna die, Priest of Titania is gonna make even more mana to produce even more Nissas. So if losing 2 Nissas means I'm gonna get 5 extra Nissas, I think I can go for that.
That is gonna do it for my turn. I think I have made more than enough things.
I'm going to go to combat, and I'm going to attack Nerd Girl with my Disciple of Nissa. Attack trigger. I'll spend these 2 for the 2 green, and then I will tap Priest of Titania for what looks like 8 mana, 9, 10, 11, 12, to make a total of 4 randomly chosen Nissas.
4?
Yeah.
4. I'll roll these 2. Looks like a 10
And a 9.
and a 9, and then roll them again for my other 4. 11
6.
and 6. So that would be Nissa Steward of Elements, Nissa Voice of Zendikar, Nissa Who Shakes the World, and Nissa World's Waker. And they all come in with additional loyalty counters.
Yeah, I will absolutely go to damage and take the 3 commander damage.
Okay. Now, Post-combat. I'm going to start with the easy one and make a plan. Then I'm going to plus Nissa Steward of Elements to Scry 2. I will put those both on the bottom. I will activate Nissa Worldwaker to untap 4 forests, which are these 4. I will tap 2, 4, 7, 8, 9 to cast Voracious Hydra, X equals 7. It has trample. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and when it enters, I can choose 1. I can double the number of counters on it, or I can have it fight a creature. It has 7, and I will have it fight the Rampaging Balos.
In response, I'll go ahead and just tap my escape tunnel to go ahead and look for a forest and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Get me that forest. It's going to come into play tapped. It'll give me a second beast. It'll give me an additional 16 scoots.
I still don't think I'm the number 1 problem.
It'll give me a second elemental from Titania, or a third, and 1 floating green mana, and then the Balos will indeed go to the graveyard. I'm actually a little sad that Dana killed the Rampaging Baloth. It was the only creature I have on board that has trample. I needed the Staff of Titania and a trampling creature to get through any meaningful damage because her board is quite big.
I did something. 4/4s will stop getting churned out. I will plus Nissa, Who Shakes the World, to untap this forest, make it a 3/3. I think I've activated all my Nissas, so I will pass the turn.
Okay, on your end step, I will tap all of these, including 2 with Convoke, to cast March of the Multitudes. I'll make 7 soldiers with X equals 7.
Ooh.
Oh, and then I will go to my turn. Now with cute heart dice to indicate lifelink. Selesnya Evangel, it's a 1/2 elf shaman, and I can pay 1 and tap it to tap an untapped creature I control and put a 1/1 green sapling creature token into play. I'm just gonna chill out over here. I'm gonna explore the wild woods of Ravnica. Pass turn.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna scry so much.
Do it, Veggie.
2, I think. I'm gonna pay 3 for Kami of Whispered Hopes. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a permanent I control, I put that many +1 more onto that permanent. And it can tap for mana equal to its power. Then, I'll play an island and pay 1 for Preordain. I'll scry 2 and draw a card.
There you go.
Yeah. Yikes. Let's put those on the bottom. And I will draw this card. That's gonna be some stuff. I will put a counter onto Lost Isle Calling. Elrond will see me look at 2 cards, so I put 2 counters on creatures. I will put 1 on the Gyre Sage, which is then an additional 1 because of Kami of Whispered Hopes, and I will put 1 on the Brood Scale, which will go up to 3, and make another spawn. Okay, I will play the card I drew, which is a Glistener Seer. This is a 0/3, enters with 3 oil counters on it. I can tap or move an oil counter to scry 1. And that's what I've got. I will pass the turn.
I'm gonna pay 3. I'm gonna move over the Staff of Titania onto one of my elf dryads. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go to combat. We're gonna send 6 Scoot Swarms at each Nissa, with the remaining Scoots going to Dana. And we're also gonna send my 3 Elementals to Dana and 1 Dryad Elf to Veggie, just to mix it up. It's just a biggin. You can just put a little...
That's part of my plan, I need
little
it.
alien in front. I will get a couple of triggers. My Staff of Titania is going to make a second Dryad Elf, which will trigger my Scoot Swarms and my Nissa. And I will get an additional 32 Scoot Swarms.
Yep.
I will block 2 of the Scoot Swarms that are attacking Nissa Worldwaker with a forest and a plant. And I will block one of the elemental tokens that are coming at me with my Voracious Hydra.
And I will definitely put an Eldrazi spawn in front of that big old Forest Dryad.
So you'll take an additional 7 scoots to the face and 10 from the elementals for 17 total damage. I will lose 2 Scoot Swarms
One
and
Scoot Swarm.
1 Scoot Swarm and an elemental.
And I think this Eldrazi spawn is dead.
And I will lose Nissa Voices Zendikar and Nissa Steward of Elements. Nissa World's Waker will go to 1. And Nissa Who Shakes the World will also go to 1.
Next up, I'm going to do the fun thing instead of the smart thing, and I'm going to cast Disciple of Freylies. When it comes into play, I can sacrifice a creature, and when I do, I get to draw X and gain X, where X is its power, and I'm going to target my Forest Dryad, which is currently huge. So it's 12/12 is the Forest Dryad, so I will sacrifice this, and because the token does go to the graveyard and is a forest, I will actually just get my elemental back as well from Titania. So I'll gain 12, and I'll draw 12. I'm gonna go ahead and play my land for turn, which will be a Broker's Hideout. I'll net plus 2 green mana, because 2 lands will come into play. My forest will come into play tapped. So that doubles my Scoot Swarms and then doubles them again. So I will end up with 262 Scoot Swarms, 252 Scoot Swarms, excuse me, and 30 of them are tapped. I will also get an additional trigger off of the Nissa to look for an elf or an elemental from the top. I found an Elf Shaman, an Oracle of Moldiah, so that's gonna go into my hand. And then also when the Broker's Hideout goes into the graveyard, I'll get an additional Titania trigger and get another elemental. And then we're gonna use the 3 mana plus my last for that Oracle of Moldiah that I got off the top. It allows me to play an additional land each turn, and I can play with the top of my library revealed, and I can play lands from the top of my library. All right, we have Azuri's Predation on top.
Oh god.
I will play that additional land for turn, which is going to give me an extra land, which I'm not going to use, but I'm going to trigger it and get more Scoots. So then the final land will give me up to 500 and some number of Scoots. So kill me now, or die by tiny skittering bug death. Pass.
Let's see what my Nissas can accomplish. I'm gonna start by playing Yavimaya, so everyone is doubly forested. I'm gonna tap this forest for 2 mana and move the Whisper Silk Cloak to Voracious Hydra. So now it's a bigger creature that is unblockable. And then I'm going to +1 Nissa Who Shakes the World to turn this forest into a 3/3. And then I'm going to move to combat. And I will send Voracious Hydra and the Disciple of Nissa at NerdGirl. Disciple of Nissa trigger. I will tap 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 23 mana and make 7 Nissas.
Yes.
First 3. 5, 3, and 9. And then 4, 2. So 4, 2, and I have to re-roll this 9 because I already got 9. I just need to roll 2 more to get to my 7 total. 5 and 11. Re-roll the 5. That one's a 6.
6 and 11.
6 and 11. So I will make Nissa's Genesis Mage, Nissa Nature's Artisan, Nissa Shadow of Baus, Nissa Ravane, Nissa Steward of Elements, Nissa Voices Zendikar, and a Nissa World's Waker, which will replace my old one, bringing it back up to 4 loyalty. So even though I am facing an army of 500 and something Scoot Swarms, I have 7 Nissas. And that is what makes me happy, because my goal was to make Nissas. And if someone does take out NerdGirl and I'm left behind, it sets me up in a really good position to take over the game from that point. So, now we would like to go to blockers.
I cannot block the unblockable thing. I can, however, block the Nissa. I would like to put 473 scoots in front of it.
I will kill 3 of those.
Okay.
And
Deal.
Nissa will go back to the command zone.
I got 3 of them.
All right.
I did work, guys.
Yes.
And then you will also take 7 damage.
I will indeed take 7.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to start by scrying 2. Those will both go on the bottom. I will plus to put a 0/1 plant into play. Plus 2 to untap Priest of Titania and a forest. And then this forest and this forest. Or I will minus 4 Nissa Nature's Artisan. It is a Toski and an Archdruid's Charm. They will both go into my hand. I will tap this forest for 3 mana and play Zuri, Renegade Leader. And then I will tap this forest for 2 mana and play Sword of the Animist, a Nissa card.
Woo.
And then I will plus Nissa Ravane to search my library for Nissa's Chosen. I will then plus Nissa Shadow Bows to untap this forest. I'll choose for it not to become a 3/3. I will tap the forest for 3 mana, use 2 of it for Nissa's Chosen. So I have 1 green mana floating. I will plus Nissa Worldwaker to untap 1, 2, 3, 4 forests.
Sheesh.
I will then tap this for 3 and use the 1 floating to play Toski, Bearer of Secrets. I will tap this forest to equip Sword of the Animist to my Toski.
Yeah.
And then I will tap my Priest of Titania for 13 mana, use 5 of it to replay my commander, the Disciple of Nissa.
Wait, you played all of those elves without tapping Priest of Titania?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay. There's no second combat, right?
And then I will pass the turn.
I can't believe how many permanents both Dana and NerdGirl have on board right now. But I know that my deck has the capability to go even wider. Now I just need to find those cards. Ooh. Cool. On your end step, I'm gonna pay 5 to put a +1/+1 counter on Darian and create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. I can live. I cannot die.
Really?
I doubt that, but
This is my last hope. I'm going to tap Wand to activate. My next spell has Convoke. We're convoking!
Okay.
I have split my tokens for the convoking so that I have exactly 6 for camaraderie. When Amara becomes tapped, I will make another untapped. And now camaraderie will resolve. It's a sorcery. I can gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures I control. And creatures I control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Okay, so I will gain 13 life and draw 13 cards. Cool. All right, with the 13 cards that I drew, I found a way. Moonshaker Cavalry.
Oh no.
It's a 6/6 flying spirit knight. When it enters the battlefield, creatures I control gain flying and +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control.
14.
Go into the battle zone. Dun, 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 dun. I will send 3 soldiers at NerdGirl, 2 at Dana, and 1 at Veggie. Oh, that is 48 damage coming your way, 32 damage coming your way, and 16.
Uh-huh.
no blocks.
No blocks on me.
My poor Scoots. I thought we were for sure going to kill everyone on my turn. but I will say no blocks.
I keep the peace in Ravnica.
Yes, be a murder.
Very peaceful.
Okay.
Good job, Nissa.
Yeah.
Good job.
We fought hard.
Take all of our damage.
All right, and those are life linkers.
I gained 96 life? Cool.
I'll scry my way out of this one.
Hang on, I have my second main phase.
Okay.
In case you didn't know, I'm a cosplayer, so I would like to show off another cosplay that I've done. It's Paradise Mantle. It costs 0 to play. And I will pass.
At this point, it would take a miracle for me to get back into this game. And there are miracles in my deck, so it's totally doable. All right, we got this. I will untap.
Easy.
I'm gonna start by playing a Benthic Biomancer. It's a 1/1. I can adapt 1 for 2 mana, and whenever 1 or more counters are put onto it, I draw a card and then discard a card. Please dig me to an answer. I'm going to tap Glistener Elf and remove an oil counter to scry 1. Yikes, we're gonna put that on the bottom. That'll put a counter onto Lost Isle Calling, and Elrond will see me scry 1, so I'm gonna target my Benthic Biomancer with the counter, but in response, because I know we're still not quite there, I'm going to spend 2 mana to adapt it in response to its own Elrond trigger. So it'll put a counter onto it. I will draw a card and discard a card. I will discard this Galadriel, and then it'll put another counter from Elrond. I will draw and discard. I'll get rid of a Bark Channel Pathway. I guess it does get an additional counter from each of those 4 Kami of Whispered Hopes, but they come in at the same time. Let's pay 1, 2, 3 for a Flux Channeler. When I cast a non-creature spell, I proliferate. I've got 2 green left, which will probably just amount to nothing. In one last hurrah, since I don't think I'll ever see this many creatures of yours tapped on your turn, I'll send 5, 9. I'll send 9.
Okay, I'm gonna respond. I'm going to tap the one that I created last time that couldn't attack, along with my Moonshaker Cavalry and my Arcane Signet, to play Devouring Light and remove target attacking or blocking creature from the game. I'll choose your commander.
That's mean. I have a response. I will pay 1 for my final card in hand. I will slip out the back targeting Elrond, and that means that you won't kill him, but I have nothing left, so that's that.
Uh-huh. But you will take
5.
I will take 5.
Made a dent. Okay.
Yes.
Pass the turn.
Okay, well, then I'm just going to untap everything here.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I'll take the last thing that I do get. I did cast a non-creature spell, so I'll proliferate all of these, which still will amount to very, very little. That'll go up, this will go up, this will go up, these will go up. I will make a spawn, I'll draw and discard a card, and now it is your turn.
Great. A lot of permanence in the way here. We're going to tap 4. Watley, Radiant Champion. I want to play Planeswalkers too. Enters with 3 loyalty. The most important ability here, -1. Target creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. So I can just do it with Moonshaker Cavalry.
I'm pretty dead. Good game.
Good game.
best elf at the table.
Good game.
This cloak is making it a little hard for me to maneuver. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I have a restriction on my shoulders too. I can't move them as far. Nerd Girl was making a whole ton of Scoot Swarms. I was making a whole ton of Nissas. Veggie was scrying at least a decent amount. And then Zbexx was making a whole lot of tokens. So even though I got taken out by tokens, I got taken out by green. So that's a plus.
Don't forget to support your favorite Commander show by doing something you were going to do anyway, and that's buy Magic singles. And you can do so by using our sponsor, TOA.
It really is that easy, and Tales of Adventure has a wide selection of singles from the most basic printings all the way through the most premium versions. And they've also started stocking sealed product now, so you don't need to go anywhere else for anything Magic.
And you get 5% off your entire order when you use code DECKEDOUT at checkout.
And you should know by now, the link is down in the description, right there.
I do know how to read it.
Plus L is 100, so that's 90. Plus 5, 8, 98. 98.
Let me see him.
X is 10, L is 50, but X before
Oh, L
50
is 50?
is
Oh.
so 48.
What's 100?
I have no idea. I don't know how to read
Oh, okay, so
Roman
then it's
numerals.
48. 48.
48.
I know what the 1 looks like.
Yeah, because if the smaller number is before, it's subtracted, right? So yeah, I think it is 48.
But it's definitely Zilvi.
yeah, Zilvi also makes sense.
It's a family name.
I'd like to take a moment to thank all of my fellow Selesnian comrades for achieving this victory. Without your vote, we couldn't have had a moon-shaking cavalry cross the finish line.
If you're building decks and you're not using Moxfield, then I feel bad for you. It just is the best tool for organizing, customizing, and collaborating on all of your decks.
In fact, it's the only way that our team can keep up with building sometimes over 20 decks per month. And it's the way that we can share our deck lists with you in a nice, easy format.
You can always support the show too, just by following us on Moxfield, where you can find every deck that's ever been on the show.
Well, you know, I don't have telepathy, like that's not a thing that Amara does. It's not in my color pie.
Oh, this whole time I've been saying, hey, make sure to not say that we're gonna let them duke it out. Have you not been listening to my... I was so excited about all the little cute interactions that my deck was able to do, but I wasn't able to keep up with the raw power of the other 3 decks, so they just sent me off to the Undying Lands. I wonder if the water that they sail on is the Scrymia River.
Ultimate Guard is the industry leader in TCG accessories.
And Ultimate Guard products are the way that all 3 of us on the Decked Out team are able to organize, protect, and display our collections. And they're the best way to show off all of our cards on camera for you.
So make sure you use the link down below in the description to support the show and pick yourself up some amazing upgrades.
Dolmen Gate down.
All right, the enemy's gate is down. I'll probably cut it. I did it just for you, Airball.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought once it got past Dana's turn and she didn't kill me with commander damage, I was home free. I thought the 500 scoots was gonna take it on my next turn. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but I did have a really fun turn lined up with Lumra next turn. I was gonna be able to recur all of my lands from my graveyard to the battlefield and then sacrifice them to make more lands. The Scoot Swarms were gonna be out of control. Special thank you to our YouTube members and patrons. Without your support, we wouldn't get to do cool stuff like cosplay episodes.
That's right. It's specifically thanks to patrons and members like you, Elves, that we're able to keep this show weekly, and that means the world to us.
And if you're not a part of the show, make sure you head on over to our Patreon, unlock those exclusive perks, sign tokens, spell table games with us, even have us play your elf list here on the show.
And of course, Mr. Presley, you can always like the video and subscribe to the channel to support us as well. That's all we've got for you for today. We'll see you next time on
Decked Out.